You are listening to These Are the Films, Episode 3, and this time we're going to be talking about Blazing Saddles. Hi everyone, welcome to These Are the Films, a fortnightly podcast where we pick a film and have a little chat about it. My name's Jim, and I'm here with my pal Crispin.
Hello. These are the films we think are important. The ones that have moved us in some way, changed the way we think, had some sort of impact. These are the films we think are remarkable, or we ought to have seen, or would like to see again. It's not a list of the best or cleverest films. It's not unsung art house heroes or cult classics. It's just films. They're not even necessarily going to be good.
It works a bit like a book club. Tell you which film we'll be covering next time and invite you to watch it too. So you don't have to have watched the films to listen to the podcast, but we might ruin the film for you if you haven't. There will be spoilers. So we're not film buffs or experts. We just like films and we like talking. We like talking about films. So if you do too, then you can get in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, email, etc. And all the details are on thesearethefilms.com. So, welcome to These Are the Films. We are going to be talking about Mel Brooks's classic Blazing Saddles. So, I met you when we were 12, Crispin. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I think that one of
11,
the things...
not 12. I mean,
it could have been 11, yeah. Yes, okay, 11. And at the time, I think one of the things which our little group in the early days of secondary school, one of the things that we all had in common was that we all like Mel Brooks movies. So I don't actually know how you ended up at the tender age of 11 already knowing the film Blazing Saddles. So how did you come across it?
It's Adam. Adam was the Mel Brooks fan.
Oh, okay.
He was the leader. He was the instigator of.
Adam was mine and Crispin's mutual friend that we all formed a little group and the very first few days of secondary school. And as you can see, me and Crispin are still friends now. We occasionally bump into Adam. No, Adam's still a very good friend of ours.
I saw him on yesterday, in fact.
Oh, well, fancy. But yeah, well, it must have been me and Adam because I introduced Adam to Blazing Saddles and he introduced me to History of the World. Which, again, I mean, it's a Mel Brooks movie. It's got a 50% chance of being either magic or terrible. So, and it is another magic one. So, Adam, introduce you to Blazing Saddles.
Let me just butt in. What's the worst one?
What's the worst one? Oh, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
That's what I had pegged as well.
It's awful. It's awful. It is. No. I'm sure there's other bad ones as well that I've missed. I know there's a couple that I've been told not to watch. But yeah, not good. So right, okay. So inadvertently, I swapped a copy of Blazing Saddles with our friend at school's copy of History of the World, and then he introduced Blazing Saddles to you.
Yes.
And obviously the fart scene is what caught you to level 11, isn't it?
Yeah.
The classic fart scene, which I don't know. I mean, it's like the least funny bit of the film when you get older. But adults still talk about it as if it's this amazing scene, and I don't know, it's stupid. It's not. I don't think it's meant to be good. It's just meant to be daft.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe what we're talking about. That I bet is going to be a recurring theme in this podcast is you have to put things in their time, and one of the things about Blazing Saddles, I guess, is we can't put that in its time because we don't really have any awareness of its time because. Were we even born? When was it put out?
Do you know what? I've made some notes and I haven't written when it was made.
But I think I'd be surprised. I reckon it's got to be early 70s, so hasn't it?
Yeah.
Early to mid 70s. So we weren't born. We've no idea about the time.
Even if it was made when we were born, it was made sufficiently early when we were born that we would have had absolutely no concept of pop culture or anything. So, um,
Granted.
yeah. So, yeah, it was pre our awareness of what was going on. But I still think we were aware enough of the 70s to know what would go and what wouldn't. I mean, it's certainly of its time, isn't it? But I think probably groundbreaking as well. Mel Brooks is starting. It was making some fantastic, hilarious movies, and it's written by Richard Pryor as well, and he was huge. For almost like the shock factor of the comedy that he was doing, and also in films with Gene Wilder. So yeah, I've been interested because it was originally Cleveland Little plays Sheriff Bart, the star of the film, but Richard Pryor was originally supposed to do it, but the studio said no chance, not a chance. He was doing so many drugs, and he was just.
Oh, is that right?
You couldn't rely on him at all, and they said no. So he was right. It was originally being written by. He was in. It was a team of writers, and he was in the writing room, and he was originally going to be starring in it, but the producer said absolutely no chance. We're not having him in it. So that's why they put Cleveland Little in. So what do you think? I mean, do you think?
That kind of makes a lot more sense to me now, because I didn't know that he was involved in the film at all. But until when I watched it this time, I actually bothered watching the credits, and there he was, and now you've said that makes perfect sense, because another thing is like he's the Cleveland Little. What else has he been in?
No, not a lot.
No. So it's weird that they would have chosen someone unnamed, not part of their gang, because there is kind of there's like a Mel Brooks gang, isn't there, of actors?
Yeah, and obviously Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor were already making movies together and were a fantastic partnership. Hear No Evil, See No Evil was brilliant. I think that might be a bit later though.
That's 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually,
Doctor.
And Stir Crazy is brilliant. Yeah, love Stir Crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think that worked out right. I think maybe Pryor would be a bit hectic in it. I think Little kind of plays it more straight.
Yeah.
Which is really good. It's nice to see. He does. He does have some moments, like when he takes himself hostage, where the character is one of the loonies, but for the most part, he's the straight man in a world of lunatics. Which
they must have. I guess they would have changed the script then, wouldn't they? There would have been stuff written that.
I think they were told right from the word go. I don't think that actually the script got written before they said, "Look, absolutely no chance." And it's really interesting the things that Pryor wrote as well. According to Mel, he was just writing all of the Mungo stuff. He wrote Mungo and was just like, "No, I don't care. I'm just writing the character." And he just sat in the corner and wrote Mungo. That's all he did. And you'd have thought he'd have been doing quite a lot of the race stuff. But no, he wasn't really interested in that. The only involvement he had in that is Mel Brooks would ask him if he was using too many volatile racial slurs. And I think it's really funny that you would ask Richard Pryor that. If all the people you're going to ask, how many times can we use these racial slurs? Richard Pryor's going to say, just everywhere, because that's what his act was anyway. Yeah. Just, every other word. Just throw him in every other word.
There's a stamp of approval.
Yeah. So you just say, yeah, that's great. Just leave me alone. I'm just writing this Mungo thing. So, but God bless him for it, because it's a very, very funny movie. So, yeah. So I guess we'll just cross up. We'll talk about the actors when they appear in the film. So was a huge success when it came out. It totally smashed it in the box office. So it starts with it starts like a straight western, and they advertised to have someone sing. They'd written the song, and they advertised for someone to sing it. And they wrote in the advert in the industry press, "We're looking for someone to sing this in the style of Frankie Lane." And Frankie Lane's a very famous American singer-songwriter at the time. He sang Rawhide,
Right.
and and apparently Frankie Lane answered the thing and said, "Why would you want someone in the style of Frankie Lane? I'll do it." And no one told him it was a comedy. Hey, yeah, brilliant, come along, and he did it. And so even though it's a comedy, the song is supposed to be funny. He sings it completely straight because he thinks and that makes it work so well. So they took all of the whips out. It goes all the time, and they took all of those out when they were playing him the track, so that he didn't think that it was a funny track, and he just sings it straight. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's really, really funny.
Hold on. So, what about the bit about Anal Johnson running the bar?
Oh no, not that bit. Just the he wore a blazing saddle. That one, not the bar was run by Anal Johnson.
Yeah, different song.
But yeah, so we get that song, and then the first scene's the black and migrant workers working on the railway, which is I think that scene is it. It tells you everything you need to know about the film. My wife hasn't seen this movie, and it's kind of a joke that an inside joke that we have, that I say, "Have you really never seen that? I can't believe you've never seen that movie." And only one of us finds it funny. But I was thinking that after I watched it this time around, I was thinking that she doesn't need to watch the whole movie. She only needs to watch the first scene. And if she laughs in the first scene, then she should watch the whole movie. And if she doesn't laugh in the first scene, then she should just walk away. Just because everything that you need is in that first scene.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't laugh in the first scene.
Really?
Yeah. This time around...
What in the wide world of sports is going on?
Now, hang on a minute. No, I might have sniggered at that.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily think. I guess I don't mean laugh. I guess I mean more. Really sets up the movie. You really know where the movie's going. Straight away. The white guys are idiots and the black guys are intelligent and sophisticated. When they get told to sing a song, then they go into that like barbershop. I get a kick out of you, which is wonderful. I mean, it just sounds great. But all of that, I love it. And then all the hicks are singing the Countdown Ladies and swinging their hats, and I think it just there we go, done. This is what the whole film's going to be like. It straight away. I think it sets out really well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is right there, isn't it? It's just like, this is exactly what you're in for. It's this. This is the main joke, and we're going to tell you this joke 100 different ways for the next hour. Here we go.
Because I think is what it's saying is there's not going to be any subtlety in this movie. That's not what the movie's all about. It's just all about. It's a satire, isn't it? It's just, this is going to be completely ridiculous. We're going to totally over-egg the level to which
everything is over the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of songs is over the top.
There's a gag in every line.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how we were going to be able to do this, and
I'm still not sure how we're going to be able to do this.
You either talk about every gag, or which gags don't you talk about? It's every line has got a joke in it. It's incessant, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's funny, because so many, if a joke doesn't hit, it doesn't matter. There's another one coming, and you'll still be laughing at that 2 jokes ago. So, the one that doesn't hit. Yeah, just just keep knocking the gags out, and enough of them will hit, and you'll find it funny. I probably, you probably only laugh at 30% of the jokes in the film, but you're laughing at them for sufficiently long that you're picking up the next one. So yeah. So anyway, so it racks it all up, and so that very first scene is just all about how Bart, our hero, gets to becomes known by the people because he gets dragged off in the handcart to go and find the quicksand, and he managed to get out, and he hits Taggart with a shovel, which then brings us to Hedley Lamar, who is a great character.
Yes, the very best. I think one of my favourite comic characters, I think, from films. It's really good. He's got so many grand bits all throughout the film.
Yeah,
which is so silly. Like when he's laughing and choking on the sweet.
Yeah. When he's frotting against the statue. Yeah, that's so funny. My mind is aglow with the whirling transient nodes of thought careening through a cosmic vapour of invention. He's just brilliant.
Jim, your wife doesn't need to watch the film. You must have recited the whole thing to her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, God, I mean, I watched it when I was very, very young because my dad just didn't seem to have any sort of real he just didn't care about whether a film was appropriate or not. I don't know, I guess to him films were like not taking a child to go and see Michelangelo's David because you can see his penis. My dad was like, well, these movies, he loves movies so much, and he must have just thought these movies are great pieces of art, and it doesn't matter how old my son is, and it's this film's got something brilliant to tell you. It's not inappropriate. It's a great thing for a child to learn.
Yeah.
It's the moral of the story is so important, and watching a film like this where racist people were stupid. What a great thing to learn when you're a kid. You watch it as a film, and it's just, I mean, and for it to be knocked into you with as blunt a tool as Blazing Saddles, it doesn't muck around, does it? You know the moral of the story, and it hits you very hard with it. It's very, very good. Anyway, yeah. So what do you think of The Hangman?
I don't know. I kind of struggled with the Hangman. I'd forgotten about it. Who's the actor?
I don't know. Just another one of these guys which shows up occasionally in Mel Brooks movies, and that's really all he's done. Certainly not famous for doing anything. I think he's really good. I just think it's so stupid, that they've dressed him up like he's in From the Flame and the Arrow or some ridiculous film like that. And the Dr. Gillespie killings, and he's sitting in a wheelchair with the noose around his neck, and just playing. I don't know. It's nonsense, and he's just playing. It doesn't mean anything. One of the cool things about watching this film for the podcast is that I've actually got around to looking up all the things that I wanted to look up. The Dr. Gillespie killings isn't an inside job reference. They just thought it would be funny to put a guy there in a wheelchair. And he just sits there in a wheelchair with a blank look on his face while the hangman kisses his bald head and says, "This one is a doozy." Which is referenced in... It's that referenced in... what's it called? Groundhog Day. Look out for that first step, it's a doozy.
Is that referenced? I just thought that was a thing that Americans said.
Well, yeah, it might be, but I don't know. It might be a reference. It's interesting, isn't it? This one's a doozy. See, it's so funny, and this is it. I mean, I put on my notes here, I'm fatigued from the number of gags we've had, and we're 10 minutes. and I'm already.
I've got tears coming out. Okay, I'm back in the room.
Yeah. So, as we said, he's humping the statue. I want that land so badly, I can taste it. And he's humping the statue. And then he finds a precedent. All of those jokes, I don't know, half of them are funny, half of them are flat. But then this is how he finds out about Bart, is because Taggart asks if Lamar will hang Bart. And then the next time we see Boris, he's got a horse and rider, both on the hangman's thing with nooses on. And that's what I love about it, is that it's taken us. They're out there. You can just see the writer's office. They're sitting there, and they're just, someone's had this gag, and he's like, great. And then there's like, the problem is you don't start at 10. You don't start with volume at 10. You start at 2, so that you've got somewhere to go. But they start at 10 because they've got an 11. They've got a 12. They've got to go in a wheelchair. Right. Well, the next time we see him, he's going to be on there with a horse. It's just nonsense. Just making it as stupid as possible. And I like that they're like Airplane. And those sort of things. Your Naked Gun, your Airplane type films, and he throws those scenes in that. I think. I really liked like nonsense comedy, and I really think that. I mean, I think a lot of people in the UK would say that they got it from Monty Python, but I really think I picked it up from Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
It's surreal.
Yeah, it's a big thing, isn't it? Because I think it's very easy for a lot of people to find it very funny, and it's very accessible sort of humour, and it doesn't have to be dumb. I think that's the important bit, is that you can, it works on loads of levels. Like talking about Monty Python, the fact that the ice cream seller, the lady in the cinema's got an albatross round her neck, so that all the literate people can go, oh, do you know why that is?
Yeah.
And then to everyone else, just like, look at that. That's daft.
Yeah.
So same sort of thing. I think with a lot of Mel Brooks stuff is that, like I said, there's messages. There's a thing, but let's not get caught up in it. Let's not try and be super clever about it. Here's a few clever gags, but here's a load of daft ones that are really funny.
Yeah, definitely. So now we go to Rockridge, and we actually see the town, and they're putting their plan into place, and Taggart's gang are smashing it up, and they have the meeting about it, and that's where we get first taste of frontier gibberish.
Yeah, I had that down in my notes. Authentic frontier gibberish. And also, at this point, the guy who has the ice cream parlour, someone Johnson.
Yeah.
Is that Higgins from Magnum?
I have absolutely no idea. Is it?
I don't know. I assumed it was Higgins. He looked like, to me, when I watched it this time, I thought, is that Higgins from Magnum? And I thought you were going to say, it's Higgins from Magnum. But I'll take that one offline.
Really know a lot.
Take that one offline. I'm making a note about it now. And on the website, find out. Check back at the website. Find out if it is Higgins.
Lovely. I looked up the script so I could find out what he actually says in the frontier gibberish, because I've never known. And it's no sidewinder, bushwhacking, hornswoggling cracker crocker is going to ruin my biscuit cutter, which of course makes tremendous amount of sense. I think the delivery, he's so funny. It does it really, really well. And that's when they decide to get the new sheriff, and they write to the governor. What's his name again? Governor.
It begins with P.
Yeah, it's
something a bit French.
What's his full name? It's Lepetamine. It's Governor William J. Lepetamine.
Yeah.
Who's named after a French artist called Lepetamine, who was a professional farter.
Ah.
You know, like Mr. Methane. He was like Mr. Methane, but, you know, in the 20s and 30s. And Petamine is like Master Farter in French.
Hey, I see. Yeah, lovely bit of trivia there, Jim. Lovely bit of
Yeah,
trivia.
so that's where he got Lepetamine from, William J. Lepetamine.
I love it. He's got Gov on his
Yeah,
back.
I mean, everything about Mel Brooks's character is brilliant. I mean, Mel Brooks is just the best comedy actor. He's so funny. I just think that Mel Brooks stays the same again. You know, he's. I mean, clever. He wrote the damn film. He got all the best lines, but yeah, I think he's so funny. He's absolute nonsense. Yeah, really, really good. And Eddie gets the line.
Things.
Sorry?
The defective, what do you call it, bat and ball thing?
Yeah, that's yeah, they're just not being able to do it. And when he gets an urgent telegram from secretary Miss Klein, I think she's called. Read it, you wild bitch. You know, he's like he can only not think about her and her body for like 2 seconds until he's completely distracted by it again. Getting out and give the governor a harumph, and that's great. Yeah. And gentlemen, please rest your sphincters is a great line from Eddie Lamar. He's very. See, this is a problem with. I'm doing it again. I start doing all of the gags.
Yeah.
And we'll be here till 4:00 in the morning doing this podcast while I just tell you all the gags from a film you watched yesterday.
That'd be great if you could.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got them all written down. I've got the whole script in front of me. Yeah, so he finds out that Rockridge needs the sheriff, and then Hedy Lamarr is back in his office, and he thinks he has an idea of Bart, and he sticks his head out the window, and we see the hangman again, and he rescues stops Bart from getting hung, and then we
nice
go.
Sweetie scene.
Sorry, yeah,
with him meeting the sweetie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Love that sweet scene. And then hop back to the governor's office, and that's when you first see Gov on the back of his suit, which is really funny. And I like how he convinces him, you know, dare I say it, the presidency, you know, suggesting that he's going to get it. And marching around humming the bomb 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 how to the chief bomb 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 bomb, and yeah, just Mel Brooks' performance again in that scene is absolutely tremendous. So now we've got the setup. We're into Act 1. We're ready to go. You know, we know what's happening, and now we're on the way. We're following Bart as he rides to Rock Ridge. And I don't know, just it's so Mel Brooks, you know. The saddle's by Gucci, and he's riding along, and Count Basie's playing, and then just in the middle of the desert, Count Basie's there with his orchestra.
Yeah, high five. Psh, nice.
Such perfect Mel Brooks, isn't it? And then and then you've got the welcoming committee. Now, what are your thoughts on the welcoming committee?
I think, you know, there's all of these the setup scenes, everything in it like in complete contrast. Well, obviously it's a very different film to Dead Man's Shoes that we were reviewing last time, but we did talk a lot last time about the difference between films that have what did you call it, the actor who explains a thing that's happening.
Oh, like idiot lectures, the exposition.
Yeah, where you know where in films like Dead Man's Shoes, that's just not done, and you're expected to catch up. Whereas the absolute opposite happens in this film, where everything is so massively explained, because otherwise they'd have to waste time not having gags.
Yeah.
So, everything, you know, like, and I you know, and he's like, well, what if I could? How could I possibly achieve this one thing?
Well, they even make a point of that. I was quite glad that we'd got to Act One because things aren't progressing maybe as quickly as they should. But we're going to have to go back now. Because when they go back to the bit where Hedy Lamarr swallows the sweet, he's just sitting there talking to himself.
Yeah.
Which is the most ridiculous exposition. It doesn't mean anything. And then he looks straight at the camera and says, "Why am I talking to you?"
Yeah.
So he's taking the mickey out of the fact that he's doing an idiot lecture to himself, because this isn't a sophisticated film. There's a story. You need to know these bits of the story. Let's just get that done so that we can get on with telling our amazing jokes. I mean, they're so stupid. Like, I'd like to extend to you a Laurel and hearty handshake. I mean, it's just stupid. Yeah. But I love it because, part of the joke is it's a stupid joke. That's the point. You're not meant to. It's just, I think the film's about a serious subject, and I think it's a great way to.
Yeah, I guess that's it. The only way that you can have a funny film about a serious subject is to just keep being daft about it. You can't. There can't be any let up, because as soon as there's any sort of let up in the daftness, then you're ruined, because then you're trying to do something rather than we're just doing something. We're just having a daft film about racism. And
I think that because there's lots of great satires that are a lot heavier, that I don't know. I mean, Dr. Strangelove is very funny, but it's heavier, and that's about a serious subject, and the way it treats it's so different. This is utter lampooning, just to the nth degree. It's just
absolutely no let up. And like you said, like with that scene, here's all the really lovely, decent people. Hooray! Here comes our sheriff. Oh, brr. He's a black man.
Yeah,
ruined.
And they
can't
don't
believe how much you've spoilt my day.
And again, it's just right. These people are idiots too. Okay, so just so you know, everyone, these people are idiots. It's very, very clear. So at the moment, everyone's an idiot except for Bart and his fellow railroad workers. And so he takes himself hostage because they're obviously displeased with his appearance, and then the town have a meeting about him. And I don't know. I really like it when the lady gets up and Harriet Johnson.
Yeah,
I just think it's so daft.
Yeah, okay, and it's delivered so well.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little bit nervous that I've written this thing, but I am quite proud of it.
And that's the thing. Their performances are all great because the people who've been asked to play it straight play it so straight. And that scene makes me laugh when she's mumbling the thing, and then we the good people, and everyone falls over, and it's really good. And then there's stampede of cattle through the meeting for just absurdism. No good reason, just funny.
Why not?
There you go. There's some cattle. And then we get to meet the Waco Kid.
Yes. So he's the only even slightly sensible white person in the whole film.
Yes. Yeah. I have a great affinity for him because I've spent a lot of my life, when people ask me my name, I say, my name is Jim. But people call me Jim. I love that. I do you know what? I'd actually forgotten that line and forgotten that I used to say it a lot, and I'm really glad I've been reminded of it because, I've moved to a new town and I'm going to be meeting a lot of new people, and
perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant because I'm going to be able to
You're
find
going to be able
out.
to gauge people, aren't you? You can do a little test on them.
Oh,
Have you seen
Yeah,
this film? Do you think it's funny? I'm going to do this test by doing this line on you.
And if they say, "Dude, your references are off the hook," then I'll know.
What's that from?
It's from what's it called? This Is the End. Is it called? The End of the World, the Apocalypse film by the Frat Pack.
Oh yeah, yes,
yeah. And what's his name? The one from Superbad. He says it. Dude, your references are out of control. You've always got the best references. Everyone knows that. I love that line. It's really good. But yeah, it's a great reference. And then you can do the steady as a rock hand thing as well, which is really good. And there's another line that I didn't get that I looked up, and where he says, "I knew you wasn't no Waco kid. You was just pulling my lariat." And a lariat's a lasso, and that's just not a phrase. It's just, no one's ever said that. It's not a thing. It's just nonsense again. Half of the things you look up and it's like, well, it doesn't mean anything.
Was that a disappointment for you?
No, I thought it was great. It's exactly what I hoped. A lot of it I wanted to be just nonsense. So yeah, it's great. I just like those two work together really well, I think.
Yeah, well, Gene Wilder's a great comic actor. It's amazing timing, and very good at rolling you into a joke just with his face.
Yeah,
it does that really well. It's just like, I'm going to do or say something funny in a little minute. Just stay with me, because there's the punchline.
His face is amazing. Because this is the bit where I'm laughing my head off, because the bit where he proves he's the Waco kid when he grabs the chest piece, and he doesn't actually move at all, and the smile on his face it's so funny. He he breathes on his knuckles and then puts his hands down by his side, and then the whole scene goes by and he doesn't actually move, and he's just got that smile on his face.
For this?
Oh god, it's so good. But yeah, it's all about his face. Yeah, and then there's another one. I've killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille. I didn't get that either. It's not really that obvious. He was a director back in the 30s, and he killed a lot of acting. It's not clear.
He killed them in film, or
maybe he didn't like the actors and he killed their careers.
Oh right.
It's not clear. So it's an in joke for Mel Brooks that he's put in for himself, I think, which he does a bit of. That'll make me laugh. That'd be fine. Yeah. Lovely. Everyone else has got 1,000 jokes. I can have one. So I guess, I like what's a dazzling urbanite like you doing in a rural setting like this, and it sets up Bart telling his story, and then we get the scene where Mel Brooks is a Native American.
Yeah, but is he talking Yiddish?
Yes.
Yiddish.
Yeah, Yiddish. Yeah. So there's a story behind it. Because I just thought this was absurdism, but it turns out that in old cowboy movies, they would get, and it's quite an uncomfortable term, they would use dirty white actors, which means Jews and Eastern European actors. Which I assume dirty is in a reference to their skin tone rather than their
personal hygiene.
Yeah, exactly. But so they would use them to Jewish and Eastern European actors to play the role of Native Americans.
Oh right.
And they would just say, just use your own language, because you'd have a bunch of Slovakians running around in the background,
right,
shouting at each other in Slovakian, and the people watching would have no idea whether that was Slovakian or they wouldn't know. So, and that's what they do. So it's a riff on that. It's a riff on taking the mickey out of them because, I mean, that's one of the things that he's having a dig at. He's not just having a dig at the general public being racist and how stupid racism is. He's also having a dig at Hollywood and the racism that's in Hollywood, which is, I mean, it's a difficult one because the films they were making were so horrible to Native Americans that even if they tried to get Native American actors to play the parts, that we might have said no chance. We're not going to be in this movie. This is depicting us in an extremely unpleasant fashion. But I would guess probably the reason why they used Jewish and Eastern European actors to play, they were racist and they didn't want to employ any Native Americans. So, and again, you're just using this ridiculous scene just to lampoon something very, very serious. I think it's, again, really, really good.
Yeah, and also a nice setup for people just saying, "Oh, I can't believe that Mel Brooks is coloured up for that." And you're like, "Well, actually,
yeah, that's the point." Yeah, he's doing red face to mock red face. This is what they used to do. Yeah, very, very weird.
But then is that okay?
Well, Mel Brooks doing it? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. What's funny about this film is, if you're talking about how below the belt it is, obviously something which we need to discuss, there doesn't ever seem to have been any scandal about it, like accusing it of racism.
Well, I guess not, because it was the 70s.
Well, that's the thing, is that at the time there was a lot of racist comics and a lot of people being that racist just in the mainstream anyway. But I think a good example for British people would be in Sickness and in Health and Until Death Us Do Part, with Warren Mitchell playing Alf Garnett, and people getting the wrong end of the stick and people supporting what Alf Garnett would say. Alf Garnett, for those of you who don't know, was in a 70s sitcom, and he was an old East End racist, homophobe, and he always got his comeuppance, and that was the joke. It was a satire, and he was the idiot. He always, in the later episodes, he had a play lodger who would always get one over on him at the end. But a lot of the general public agreed with what the character Alf Garnett was saying.
Yeah, and he became like a spokesperson for, right-wing racist people, didn't he?
Yeah, which is really interesting, because if you listen to the actor talking about it, he just says, well, if people can't get that this is a satire and that Alf Garnett is an awful character and everything he's doing is stupid, what am I supposed to do? I don't have responsibility for that. We've made it so obvious. It can't be any more obvious than that. And I think
it could be more obvious. I think Blazing Saddles is a bit more obvious,
isn't it? Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, no one really picked it up. The studio were mildly horrified about it, but Mel Brooks had the golden touch, and so they were just thinking, well, all right then. Mel was saying, look, I talked to Richard Pryor about it, and he says it's all right. So he managed to convince them that it was okay, even with the level of racial slurs in it that there is, which is, it is peppered with them, isn't it? It is completely ridiculous. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie, only good. Yeah, there's never really been any scandal about it. No one's ever said. But Mel himself says that there's no way you could make it now. In an interview I heard with him a couple of years ago, he said you couldn't make it now. There's no way. And I think that's really interesting, because it's obvious what it means, but I just don't think that in the current climate there's any way of making your point using the method that he has made, which is a shame, because I think it's extremely powerful You know, I watched it at a tender age, and I think it probably helped make sure I stayed on the straight and narrow with regards to my tolerance for my fellow human.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. There's no way you could make a film like that now. But then, the fact that you couldn't make a film like that now, does it mean that then a film like that is okay because it is old enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, Pulp Fiction has got a lot of white people using racial slurs in it, and I think in a much worse way. You know, if you were going to say, if you had to pick a film of the two films, which one uses, volatile racial language in a more productive way? You know, I would think that Blazing Saddles does. I mean, it's
Jim, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So yeah. Now we get the fart scene.
There you go. Bring us back to Earth with the fart scene.
What do you say about it? It's a bunch of people sitting around farting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I watched this time, I did think I can remember being a kid and just thinking this was really, really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it wasn't that funny. It wasn't that funny at all. It was the first time I saw it, but it's just one of those things jokes that don't last. Yeah, and then I don't know. I always thought so that's when they decide to send Mungo. Mungo goes, and Bart has to go and see him. And I don't know, I'm killing it. I'm saying too many things, but I can't let Gene Wilder taking a toke on a joint and saying, "Good luck." I can't let that pass. I think it's so funny. It's such nonsense. Okay, and that's how we've introduced Lily von Stupp, the Teutonic Titwillow.
Is that how she's referred?
Yes. What do you think of her performance?
Yeah, Grant, just another Mel Brooks stalwart, isn't she?
Yeah.
Basically always playing the same person.
Yeah. Madeline Kahn, her name is. And she is doing an impression of Marlene Dietrich. And, yeah.
She went round the West, didn't she, Marlene Dietrich?
I guess so. I mean, I think the thing that it's most, falling in love again. I think it's that her that scene in that film. It's obviously the what Lily's song is a reference to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's so funny.
I can't know what. It's yeah. I don't know. I don't think it is.
No, I don't necessarily mean the lyrics or anything. I mean all the bits where she's going, la 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 la. She's like horrifyingly out of tune. And then
sounds like Nico from Velvet Underground.
Yeah. Yeah. God, it's lucky those songs are so good because Nico is just the worst singer. It's incredible. The songs that the Velvet Underground wrote for her were so good that you can still listen to them even though she's singing them. Anyway. Yeah, and the German soldiers coming on with their pickle helmet, the pointy helmets. I love that. I think that's so funny. It doesn't. It's nonsense. It just tickles me. Yeah. So then Bart gets a note and goes backstage and meets her, and then we get lots of.
Well, the idea, isn't it, that she's supposed to entrap him, but then unfortunately for her, it all backfires.
Yeah, Bart is so charming.
Yeah,
that
such a good lover.
Yes, and they use quite a lot of salacious references to racial stereotypes aplenty at that stage. I kind of feel like it's to me, it's kind of the only point where things are getting a little bit go easy, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. It does set up the line in the next morning where he says 15 is my limit on schnitz, and and then she whispers something in her ear and he says, please, I am not from Havana. What does that mean?
Did you look that one up?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Oh, right.
It doesn't mean anything. There's a reference to Kansas City at one point in it as well, which in the first scene, which just absolutely doesn't mean anything either. It just Mel just invents stereotypes.
But I guess that, you know, that sort of stuff would have been in old Western films as well, like you know, not that jokingly and not that obvious, but they would have just made up nonsense.
Yeah.
The whole thing, you know, I guess, you know, maybe the point of it is that there's so much around the Western genre, especially the sort of the style of Western that's you know, it's been sent up in this film, the sort of 30s, 40s Hollywood, you know, Hollywood Western rather than the more gritty, you know, spaghettis and the things that came later.
Yeah.
Is that it's just an absolute total fiction and an absolute nonsense. So dropping all these things in that are and nonsense, but that sound plausible, that's all that has to happen. They just need to sound plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely couldn't get away with making all of those cowboy and Indian movies that they made back then, because they brought absolutely no relation whatsoever to anything like what it was like back then. Yeah. So anyway, let's rifle through this a little bit. So we get Headley gets a posse together after his plan for Mungo's failed, his plan for Stupper's failed, so he's just going to get an army together. So he arranges to get the army together. They managed to get Bart dressed up as a KKK member. So they must have just been in the thing. How are we going to get this? How are we going to do this? Get a black guy dressed up as a KKK. We got to get that in. They throw in the third rape joke in a film. So not necessarily when he said when Mel Brooks said they wouldn't make this film couldn't be made now. I would think that the levity to which they refer to rape, I think, would probably be one of the reasons why it didn't get made now. Not entirely convinced that those jokes have made it through to the 21st century, but it's a film of its time, so I don't think we should punish it too much for that. Oh, and then we get badges. We don't need no stinking badges.
Yeah. Now, when that happened, what's that from? Did that begin here?
No, it's from a John Huston made a film adaptation of the book of The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Right. So it's an old film, and it's just become a trope. It's just become a meme. It's something that just appears all over the place. It's in VHF.
What's VHF?
It's very high frequency. It's that Weird Al Yankovic film.
I haven't seen it.
Haven't you?
No.
But they're talking about badgers.
Oh, right.
The black and white mammal. And it's in Ocean Stinks as well. Yeah. Great movie. And then they decide to build a replica town. Mm-hmm. So, and then there's some daft jokes going through the toll booth, that sort of thing. And then they have the big fight. And that's breaking into other sets. Now, what is your opinion on this point where they start, the absurdity of it becomes, they're on a movie set and they start breaking through into other sets?
I think this is one of the great pieces of the film. I think it's, you know, it's a brilliant way, and I you know, I can imagine them talking about it, like, how are we going to end this? And somebody must have said, well, what about if, you know, we've done a couple of fourth wall breakers. What about if we break through the wall so much that it comes out and we're on to the next set and then we're off, and then, you know, I can imagine that happening, and I can imagine people going, it's brilliant. That's it. That's exactly what we're doing.
I suspect, knowing how Mel Brooks works, I suspect that he just had that set piece of The French Mistake with Dom DeLuise. I suspect that he just had that written, and he didn't know it, so he stuck it at the end of Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
I think he just thought Dom wasn't in the film. He had this set piece that he'd written. Dom's brilliant in it. Briefly, I think it's a little unkind to homosexuals. I'm not sure whether it's the only bit where you're not sure whether you're laughing at the stereotype or with the stereotype. Do you know what I mean? But I think you're laughing at the stereotype, really. But it's not as clear. But
I think this is the point: is that you're always, the intention is there. The intention is from the right place with this film.
I think so. I wasn't sure. But then when he says, "Have you got it?" and then all of the dancers go, "Yes." At that point, you realise, they're making it so stupid that they're mocking the stereotype. They're not stereotype to mock homosexuals. So, and you know, it's Mel. He's good at that. That's his thing. That's the whole thing. And going at the cafe, just you know, all of these things. Like I said, I just think it's all just devices so that Mel can throw his jokes in. It's got to have a Hitler joke in there, isn't it? It's Mel Brooks, so he's got Hitler in the cafe.
Yeah,
they lose me right after the bunker scene. Yeah, and then Lamar sneaks off, runs out, goes to the Chinese theatre. There's cows in the lobby of the Chinese theatre. So don't know why that is.
Well, no, they probably just had some leftover cows.
Yeah. There's lots of weird stampedes for no reason in it. And then Bart shoots Deadly Lamar, and then we see the ending where Bart leaves and Jim goes off too, and then they go off on their horses, and then a limo pulls up, and that's it. And
I love it. I really like the ending. I think it's nice because it sort of tails off. Yeah, but still remains daft.
Yeah, it's absolute nonsense. I mean, how else do you end that film? You know, it's just. I think that ending it like a cowboy movie would have been doing it a disservice. I think it needed something else to happen, and then bringing it right back, and then the third act when they're all saying goodbye and everything is as if that bit where they broke the fourth wall and were out in the public and in the studios and stuff. It just we're just back here. I like it. It's clever.
Yeah. And then we just bust it again because they get in the limo at the end.
Yeah. Great movie. Too many gags. So difficult to talk about it like this without just getting stuck in there every single gag. But yeah, just made me laugh all the way through, and
it's a great film, and you know, because it's a Mel Brooks film and it has all the set pieces and the dancing and the songs and everything. You know, it's not. You know, it's wrong to say that's his style. I mean, it is his style. He does that a lot, but that's, you know, it's kind of like it's a passion for an older sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like a musical, and it's I don't know, like a system of comedy, if you like.
He like the Coen brothers. He loves Hollywood and the golden age of Hollywood, but he loves it in a way that he wants to mock it as well. And you know, it's the way he has a dig at Hollywood, I think is a lot more gentle and a lot more kind, because of his love of it, and the reason why he satirizes it is because he wants to improve it. He wants it to be better than what it is, but he's clearly loves the history of film, and clearly so many things that he brings in is just because he, like the Dom DeLuise thing, he just wants to do one of those daft musical set pieces. It's just all it is. He just wanted to do one of them. He's a filmmaker, and
and it's a tradition still going on today, right? You got Seth MacFarlane does exactly the same thing, really, really well.
Yeah.
Stupid big musical set pieces. It's good.
Yeah. But I think this film definitely gets 2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah. It's his best. I think I really, I do really like History of the World as well.
Yeah.
And Silent Movie as well.
Yeah, Silent Movie's excellent.
I thought you were saying yeah. Yeah.
No. So, Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Is just brilliant. Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein is great. And what I love about he fought to get Young Frankenstein to be in black and white. And then when they finished doing it, he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to make a film called Silent Movie." And the producers were like, "You're kidding. You're going to make it silent, aren't you?" And Mel was like, "Yeah, it's called Silent Movie." I like that. He's naughty, but he wanted to do a black and white horror movie, and so he did Young Frankenstein. He wanted to do a tribute to the old silent movies, and he did Silent Movie. He loves old cinema, and he pays tribute to it by gently mocking it, and
why
he's
not?
wonderful at it.
Yeah,
he's just immensely funny. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
If you agree with us or disagree with us, or just want to tell us what you thought of the film or our opinion of it, you can join the conversation on facebook.com/These.Are.The.Films, or tweet us at AFP Podcast, or you can email us at show@thesearethefilms.com. And don't forget to visit our website, thesearethefilms.com, for clips and links mentioned in the show. All that's left to do now is to ask Crispin, what film are we going to watch next time?
Next time, Jim, we are going to watch Moon. Yeah, Duncan Jones, director. Sam Rockwell, starring. We'll say Kevin Spacey. Very few other people.
Matt Berry.
Oh yeah, I just saw that when I
just saw that. Yeah, when I rented it on iTunes. Matt Berry, wonderful. Yeah, great movie. Looking forward to seeing it again. Not fresh in my mind by any stretch of the imagination. Haven't seen it since it came out, so I loved it. I think at the time I thought it was probably my favourite. May have been superstated, but I'm going to watch it back and looking forward to find out. So if you've got any... Sorry?
Here's the thing, Jim. Yeah. I have watched it twice, and the second time was better.
Oh, that is... I'm very looking forward to that. If I can only get my rental on iTunes to actually work. So if you've got any thoughts on that choice of movie and want to talk to us about, then please let us know through all the usual places.
So, until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Froggy love Daddy.
Daddy love Froggy.